Well, hopefully as you were doing this RCQ, you were able to get the gist of this story. Not every single one of these slides has a question on it. Some of them just a little bit of an explanation. You might want to peek through the slides and make sure you understand a lot of what's going on here. But let's at least look at the questions and see if we understand this. So I ask, what does the knight find instead of a beautiful woman as he approaches? So he's not having any luck getting an answer, and he's on his way back to essentially give himself up to the queen and say, I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for you. When he happens to come across a bunch of ladies, it says 4 and 20, nay and more, so lots of ladies, beautiful ladies dancing, and he approaches them hoping maybe he'll get an answer from them. But when he gets there, the dancers are all gone, and there's not a living creature to be seen save one old woman crouched upon the green. A fouler-looking creature, I suppose, could scarcely be imagined. In other words, a very ugly old woman. So instead of the beautiful women, he comes across this ugly old woman. And she asks him, can I help you? And he says, I'm dead. That's all there is to it. Unless I can figure out what women most desire. If you could tell me that, that's great. And she says, give me your hand. Swear to do whatever I shall next require of you, and so to do should lie within your might. You shall know the answer before tonight. So the deal between the two of them ends up, she'll give him the answer. He does whatever she asks of him. She doesn't say what it is at this point. But he's either going to die or he'll do whatever she says. So he goes to the queen, and he gets the wisdom of the old woman, essentially, and is able to share. And he says to the queen, my liege and lady, in general, a woman wants the self-same sovereignty over her husband as over her lover, and master him. He must not be above her. So he essentially is saying that she wants the respect in a relationship. A lover might respect her. She wants her husband to respect her as well. So a lover, she can let him go and throw him out just as easily as be tied to him. So she wants the same ability with her husband. So she wants that freedom, that respect. Do they agree? In the court, not one that shook her head or contradicted what the knight had said. So in other words, they all agreed that that's the thing that women most want, probably at that time. So the old woman collects on her promise to the knight. She says that he has to marry her. That's what she is looking. It says, before this court, I ask you then, Sir Knight, to keep your word and take me for your wife. For well you know that I have saved your life. So in other words, I just saved your life, you have to marry me. And he says, but for God's love, think of a new request. Take all my goods, but leave my body free. You can take all the money you want. Just don't be tied to me. But she doesn't agree with that. Okay? And so she insists upon it. And he says, by heaven, by damnation, alas, that any of my race and station, notice that quote, should ever make so foul a misalliance. So he thinks himself better than her. Not just the fact that he's a man and she's ugly, but his station in life is better than her. So, it's like marrying somebody in the third estate. When you're from the second estate, he's not real happy about that. And then at the wedding, he keeps it small so that nobody else knows. He says, I say there was no joy or feast at all, nothing but heaviness of heart and sorrow. He married her in private on the morrow. So he keeps it small and private so that nobody could see that he's married not only to an ugly woman, but a woman beneath his station. And he continues that whole day complaining about his wife. And he gives 2 specific insults that really, make you think about the station at that time. He says, put right? That can never be now. Nothing can ever be put right again. You're old and so abominably plain, so poor to start, with so low bred to follow. So you're old, abominably plain is just ugly. You're ugly, you're poor, and you're low bred. You're third estate. So how should I ever be happy about this union? And she ends up berating him quite a bit. She rants at him about how rude he is. She says, I could set right what you've supposed a blunder, if I cared to, if I were shown more courtesy by you. Just now you spoke of gentle birth. Gentle birth means that he's a noble, okay? Such as descends from ancient wealth and worth. If that's the claim that you make for a gentleman, such arrogance is hardly worth a hen. Okay, how can you be so arrogant? You think yourself a gentleman just because you were born into it. She says, whoever loves to work for virtuous ends, public and private, who most intends to do what needs of gentleness he can, take him to be the greatest gentleman. Christ wills we take our gentleness from him, not from wealth of ancestry long dim. So she's essentially saying a true gentleman is one who's good, who does good works, who obeys, in this case, the laws of Christ, which are to love one another as he has loved you. Okay, that's the law at that time, or the general rule to be followed. It doesn't come from your birth. It comes from what you do, who you truly are. All right, so finish up the rest of the story. See what happens in the end.